If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. This program offers healthcare, housing, transportation, and recreational activities. There are no co-pays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE works to keep you healthy and in your home. Call 206-320-5325 or visit providence.org Elder Place. Providence.org Elder Place.
Hi, I'm Mac McGregor, the host of the You Can Make a Difference show, which airs live every Friday at 12 noon PT time. On the You Can Make a Difference show, we shine a spotlight on people who are doing amazing things to make a positive difference in our communities and in our world. We talk about what inspired them to do the work and what inspires them to keep going, how they got their start, and how you can, if it inspires you, plug into their work. We can all do something that makes a difference. So tune in every Friday at noon to the You Can Make a Difference show with Mac McGregor.
On Rainier Avenue Radio.world, look for the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show. I'm Dennis Weaver, your good food guide and host, helping you to feel good and look good, and who wouldn't want some of that? All that and more from the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Stories, songs, and guests. Begin living the organic good food life, and the rest of your life just may be the best of your life. Always up, baby, to your health.
There is no secret why Downbeat Magazine calls this Seattle's most important annual jazz event. The 33rd annual Earshot Jazz Festival hits Seattle stages October with one-of-a-kind live jazz performances and video live streams all the way through November 7th. This year's Earshot Jazz Festival features established masters like Diane Reeves, Chuco Valdez, B. Daniel, and red-hot young stars like Theo Croker, Emmanuel Wilkins, and Samara Joy, celebrating both Seattle's history and its future in the world of jazz. Earshot teams up with community partners like Langston Railroad and Rainier Avenue to showcase Seattle's own resident artists. Tickets and more information are available online at earshot.org. That's earshot.org. Once again, Seattle's most important annual jazz event. Earshot Jazz Festival, hitting stages early October all the way through November 7th. Call for more information.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Well, welcome once again. This is Rick Dupree, and welcome to Monday Night Sports. I'm looking at the light on me. That doesn't look too good. Well, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, welcome to the show and another edition. And joining us from the start, don't say it's real. Is Edwin Bailey there? Edwin Bailey, are you there? Are you alive?
Edwin Bailey's here.
Edwin Bailey, what up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm happy to be here, Rick. Happy to be here, bro.
It is good to have you here. And for our listeners, welcome to the show. And again, we typically, as you know, we focus on, look at that svelte picture of that svelte young man. A little gray down the middle there. You got a little suit jacket on, button-up shirt. I don't know where we got that picture, but you look good.
That's my kinship to Frederick Douglass.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, well, you still got it all. I ain't got none, but okay. Hey, so, typically, as our listeners know, we kind of focus on, the Seahawks game. The Seahawks game was last Thursday. And so, Edwin, I think a couple of things I love to do is, number one, I've been telling people, okay, you're down in South Carolina. I want you to kind of share with them what you're doing down there. Then I want to get your take on what the locker room may be like in a situation like this where, a team it appears to be to a certain degree in disarray. They're finger pointing what's going on there. And then Bob Condotta from the Seattle Times is going to join us as well. We're going to get his take. But first, Edwin, talk about you're in South Carolina. What you doing down there, big fella?
I am in Hardyville, South Carolina. I am the new head coach to the Carolina Cobras. It's a junior college program. It's 10 new junior college teams that are situated in North Carolina and South Carolina. And I am the head coach of the team that's in Hardyville, South Carolina. It's called the Carolina Cobras. It's a 2-year college for young men who want to get situated, kind of get academically adjusted from being away from home, and need a little time to get acclimated. And I think it's going to be a pretty good situation. I am going to enjoy it, being that I grew up less than an hour from here and went to school about 2 hours from here. So, it's an area that I'm very familiar with. And I can go. I've been going to high school games, which they say that I look as if I'm very comfortable at the high school games. And I didn't tell them that I've been calling high school games for 3 or 4 years, Rick. And I got a good idea of what's in the area, and we're looking to kick it off. Right now we've been kind of readjusted a little bit by COVID, like everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good situation.
Cool. So a new league, and if I recall, so you've got, is it 5 teams in South Carolina, 5 teams in North Carolina? Is that correct? Or 5 schools?
5 in North Carolina, 5 in South Carolina.
Yeah. So you guys will kick off the inaugural season next fall, correct?
Yes, we will. Okay. Right now we're getting housing because there's no dorms, so we're gonna have to use the area and house our kids, and we're doing a lot of stuff online right now. But I think it's going to be a good situation. A lot of people in the area is excited, and I told them, the one thing I do know about the kids from the state of Washington, the city of Seattle, is that they are acclimated to academics.
Yeah,
and they will come here and they will do very well. I'm just getting accustomed to the weather. Will be the biggest dilemma, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is Edwin Bailey on a new venture. Congratulations, big fella. That is so.
Thank
cool.
you.
Real quick, we're going to bring Bob Condotta from the Times on in just a minute, but I want to get your take. Instead of kind of breaking down the game, again, it was last Thursday. People know. Can you talk a little bit about it? I know in your 11-year career, you've been in situations like this where a tough start to the season. Kind of what's going on, you think, in the locker room, or from your experience, and what needs to happen? Again, we're early in the season. It's 2-3. It's not over. People are, sounding the alarm. And yeah, I mean, you can't let it get away from you. But from your experience, kind of what do you think's happening in that locker room? What needs to happen to turn it around?
What I would like to think that's happening, and I'm going to take you back a little bit. When you lose a vital part of your team, especially a vital part of your offense, similar to what we did when we lost Kurt Warner at the beginning of the year. And I think that was 84. And we lost him to a knee injury. But then that 84 season turned out to be possibly the best season under the circumstances that the Seahawks have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I think we won 12 games, 11 games. And Chuck Knox did an outstanding job of coaching. The number one thing of it is veteran leadership. That was my 4th or 5th year in the league, and I had to step up. You had to be accountable, be responsible, be on time, pay attention to details, practice with a purpose. All the things that the veteran guys, the Reggie McKenzie's and the Robert Pratts, the Steve Largents, the Mike Wilsons, everything that they were talking about at the time. Hey, we got to stay into the game. Hey, because we are limping. We don't have Kurt Warner. And the year before, he was the top rusher in the AFC.
Yeah,
that was vital. And to lose the quarterback, and they're going to have to make some adjustments, Rick. They can't. 9 times out of 10, if the tip of his finger has been broken, he can't take that ball, that snap from under the center.
Yeah.
But he can take the gun snap. And now the offensive line have to be very, very conscious of the protection, because like that, you don't want him to hit that finger on anything again, because it'll possibly do more damage or put him out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I'm sure as a competitor, he wants to be out there, because I figure you got to put him in a glove and take that up, then lock it in, but he's going to lose some touch. because he won't have his whole hand on the ball. That just not having that one finger on the ball changes to, let me make sure I say this right. The trajectory of the ball.
The trajectory. Yeah.
You know,
and
so
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to go on.
When he's going to be out, I mean, you know, latest I've heard, we'll get more from Bob Condotta in just a minute. He's going to be out, you know, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks. I mean, you know, knowing Russell, I mean, had the surgery on the finger. So that's, you know, it's interesting because I'm looking at, as you were talking, I was pulling up the stats from that 84 team. You talk about having to do things by committee. Kurt Warner, I believe that season before, like you said, you led the AFC over 1,000 yards. Yeah, I'm looking at David Hughes had 300 some odd yards. Eric Lane.
Yep. Eric Lane stepped up big. Yeah. David Hughes stepped up big.
Yeah.
Big. I think the person who stepped up the most was Dan Dornick.
Yeah, Dan Dornick, you know, he had, you know, and Dan Dornick's such a great receiver. He had 31 catches that season. So he was a guy coming out of the backfield. You had Randall Morris. You had Franco Harris was there. So it was by committee.
That was a big part. That's a part of that veteran leadership right there.
Yeah.
You know, Franco Harris talks to you about winning. You might want to listen.
Yeah. You just so Edwin, before we bring Bob on, you know, talk a little bit about, is there a tendency when things are going bad, and obviously, you know, the last couple of weeks, you got the win, you know, against San Francisco, but I mean, some would say, well, you know, you had the second half of the rookie quarterback, you got lucky. The defense is getting torched, and people are saying, oh, well, these guys can't cover this, that, and the other, and when I'm looking at it, and you know, a lot of it is the opponent's receivers are wide open, which is leading me to believe that there is a problem with the scheme and communication. It's not as much lack of talent, you know, but talk about, because I'm sure you've been in a situation where there's some infighting and pointing fingers and what have you. You know, does that go on?
You have some guys that might not be on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, but if you got the right quality of veteran leadership, you know, even if you're not on the same page, you know, we had some receivers and some defensive backs. I will not call any names,
but no names.
They did not see a whole lot of things eye to eye, you know, but they kept that between them. You know, and I used to love to get after Jacob Green, and Jacob Green used to love to get after me. So just from a challenging standpoint, to get you to go out and play, you know. But then again, that's when you got quality veterans, and that's the one thing I must admit we had when I got to Seattle. We had a lot of quality veterans. I mean, you just didn't get any better than Largent and Charlie Young, and I bringing in a Franco Harris, you know, a Dave Brown, a Sherman Smith, you know. Hey, and one of my favorites is Sam McCullum.
Oh,
you know, he will call you out on the carpet.
Really? Yeah.
You know, so it's going to take, first and foremost, the veteran leadership, and they got a lot of veteran ball players on that team. A lot of veteran ball players. Got a lot of veteran ball players within that offensive line. You know, and somebody's got to step up, and somebody's got to call them out and make sure that they are being accountable.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Because it's good to be a good team when everybody's there.
Right.
You can come out there limping a little bit and still be a good team. Hey, man. You know, and their quarterback is limping now. You know, and he's a part of the fuel to the fire. You know, and you know I like how he's playing, but you got to keep him clean. Yeah. You know so that means the offensive line got to step up. You can't afford his hand to hit a helmet. You can't afford his hand to hit the back of your helmet. These are the things that takes quarterbacks out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, you know, again, it's going to take veteran leadership, you know, and accountability and responsibility from the last man on the roster to Mr. Wilson.
Yeah. That's so, Edwin. I mean, again, I think what I'm hearing you say is in a situation like this, it's got to be up to those veteran leaders to, kind of get this thing turned around. How much does a coaching staff come into play in a situation like this versus that veteran leadership?
Well, you got to make sure that, the details of the assignments are there.
Yeah.
As long as they're making sure the details of the assignment. I have always been fortunate, man. I've had some outstanding Howard Mudd, Ken Stevenson, Ray Prohaska. These are all offensive line coaches that I had while I was here. And these guys made sure that we paid attention to details, and you concentrated on that. And when those situations came up in the game, that you responded, and again, that needs to be happening. If the coaches are there, and you want to be considered as an outstanding coach, these are the times. Anybody could coach Big Brown at tackle.
Yeah, yeah.
When he's cooking and everything is going right, but coach that backup tackle in there to come in there and give you that same productivity that Brown give you on a day in and day out. Period. He's a solid veteran offensive lineman.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, they got to make sure that everything is on the table. So when the kid needs something to dig back and get to help improve his game, it's there. He's worked on it. He's thought about it. He's repped it. Hey, now you put it to work.
Yeah. That's gonna be interesting. You're listening to Monday Night Sports. I'm Rick Dupree. That's the voice of Edwin Bailey, 11-year NFL veteran, all with the Seattle Seahawks, and kind of talking about what kind of may be going on in that locker room, what needs to happen for this team to turn around. And Edwin, I'm certainly not ready to throw in the towel. I think that you've got some hope here. I mean, again, it's early in the season. You have 17 games, not 16. You've only played 5. So there's a lot of football left to be played. And again, like I said, I think as I look at this, defensively last year, if you recall, the first half of the season, the defense was atrocious. They were giving up the most yards. I mean, it was horrible. And they really turned it around. The personnel is different this year. And so there's a lot of talk about Jamal Adams and, he can't cover and this and that and the other. But I think at the end of the day, Edwin, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. You got to know what guys' strengths are, and you play to those strengths. And last year, Jamal Adams showed, he came in and he was a disruptor, man. He had, I think it was 9.5 sacks, the most sacks, by DP. I mean, and if that's what he does, man, you got to figure out a way to get him in, get him rushing and get him using his strength and not try to put him in an area where he's not as strong.
Right. And Rick, but see, the thing of it is, too, his want-to attitude is have to kick in.
Yeah.
Okay. Your want-to attitude, I want to get there. I really, really need to make a play. Like you said, the defense did not step up in a lot of ways. Well, it's the same coaches, Hey, let's come ready to play.
Yeah.
Again, in a lot of ways, they're not getting that now.
Right.
Hey, I'm blown away. There were times. Again, I'm going to go back to that Kurt Warner thing again. When Kurt Warner went down, that's the biggest part of our run game. Year before we was at the top of the AFC. Now we have lost that.
Right.
Right. And again, the David Hugheses of the world, the Eric Lanes, again, Dan Dornick.
Right.
All of these guys came in and they stepped up, man, stepped to the plate. And, we got 100 yards out of David Hughes. We got 100 yards out of Dan Dornick. And like you said, he was out of the backfield catching. And Dan might have been one of the smartest football players I've ever played with. He's always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. And, and I can't say enough about Dave Craig and how he stepped to the plate and gave it everything. He might have been one of the better players in the league that year.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me just share, and then we can talk about how this, because Russell Wilson, I think, the impact that he has on offense, is that what Dave Craig has, was, when he was playing in your era. And but let me just take a step. So you mentioned 83, Kurt Warner. I'm looking at the stats. Kurt Warner started all 16 games. 1,449 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns, had 42 catches for another 325 yards and another touchdown. But like I said, 13 touchdowns on the ground, another one through the air receiving. Huge part of that offense. And then, like you said, beginning of the season, boom, he's out.
Hey, Rick, let me throw this one in here now. He had that kind of production, and we didn't have a Pro Bowl offensive lineman.
Yeah. You and I have had this conversation, and that's crazy, because I don't care how good a running back is if the front line is not doing the job, he ain't getting the yards. I mean, the one guy maybe, and this is the one guy, and he had an offensive line, but I'll never forget. My dad used to tell me stories about Jim Brown, and he said, Ricky, he said, the defense would know that he was going to get the ball. He would come to the line and say, yeah, I'm coming your way, and then punish guys. But, Jim Brown, I mean, that's a whole different class. But no, I hear you. I mean, that's a good point. But so, Edwin, let's take a look now, and I want to then compare this to the current team with the loss of Russell Wilson, people needing to step up. But yeah, again, we talked about by committee, and you had, you can look at the stats. Rushing, David Hughes led the team that year with 327 yards. Eric Lane at 299. Franco Harris 170. Randall Morris 189. Dan Dornick 215. So by committee, I'm not doing the numbers.
Everybody stepped up. Everybody
that's probably close to 1,000. But yeah, and you talked about Dave Craig. Dave Craig completed 57% of his passes that year, 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns. He did have 24 interceptions, but again, a quarterback rating of 83. So again, likening that to now, you have guys that have to step up, and with Russell out, and I think what I'm hearing you say, you got to have that leadership, that veteran leadership that's got to turn things around as well.
Want to.
Yeah. And we've got Bob Condotta from the Seattle Times. Let's bring Bob on and get his take on what's happening in that locker room. Bob, hey, how you doing?
Good. Yeah. Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for taking a minute out of your schedule to join us. We've been talking a little bit, and I was just getting Edwin's take on what it's like in that locker room, if guys are going after each other, and then what needs to happen. Can you give us an update? What from your perspective, what are you seeing? What are you hearing from the players, the coaching staff, and what have you, is where they're at and what needs to happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's a lot of confidence in Geno Smith. He's been there since 2019, so so everybody knows him well, and he's, as far as I can tell, he's he's never really been hurt. He's taken part in every practice and all the off-season stuff and all that, and so I think from a backup quarterback situation, I think they're in about as good a situation as you can be in. He's a guy who has 31 career starts, 2 full seasons starting for the New York Jets. That's a pretty pressure cooker kind of thing. Being a starting quarterback in New York. So it's not like he's going to be, step into this and be nervous or any of that kind of stuff. He's been through this. Obviously, he played, 3-year starter at West Virginia. He sort of briefly was a Heisman Trophy favorite, in 2012. Had the famous game where he led West Virginia to a 70-33 win over Clemson in the Orange Bowl. So he's been in a lot of big time situations. So, it's from that standpoint, I think it's a really good, I think it's a best case scenario from a backup quarterback spot. And we saw him play pretty well against the Rams last week. And I think there's some things, about this offense that I think he can thrive in this offense. I talked to him in August, and he knew when he re-signed, obviously you're not going to beat out Russell Wilson. So the only way you're going to play is if somebody gets hurt, and that can be a tough situation to want to re-up yourself for. But he said one of the reasons he did come back to Seattle this year for a third year as a backup was because he likes Shane Waldron and the system, the way they go up tempo. He thought that's real similar to a lot of the stuff he did well at West Virginia, and so he felt the changes they were making to the offense this year, would only maybe help his game even more than what they had been in the past when he was here the previous years with Brian Schottenheimer. So, I mean, today was just the first, they were on the field for a half hour. They had their mini bye following the Rams game. So, it really won't be till later in the week when we really get a sense of Geno as the starter, preparing to be the starter and all that. But again, I think he's a guy that everybody really has a lot of confidence in.
Yeah, and we're showing highlights of the drive that he took him down. I mean, yeah, and he played well, and the interception, it was unfortunate. People he threw it away. It's like, well, did you see? I mean, it's a timing thing. He's assuming that receiver's going to be somewhere, and
Tyler Lockett fell down. I mean,
Tyler fell down. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Let me ask you, Bob. So last year, this defense, the first half, a little more than the first half of the season was atrocious. And we're seeing that, and a lot of people, you're hearing it, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the news, whatever the case may be. People are saying, "Well, these guys are not talented, this, that, and the other." And I'm not of that opinion. I mean, I'm looking at the way that Kirk Cousins picked them apart, and looking at how the Rams and Matthew Stafford picked them apart. And you have guys that are wide open, which to me is saying, okay, there's a problem there's some miscommunication. There's some problem with the schemes. I don't think it's a talent issue as much as this defense coming together, and maybe it's a combination of both. But kind of from your standpoint, I mean, you're much closer to it than I am. What are you seeing, and what's kind of the feeling and the kind of the thought about that?
Yeah, for sure. It's surprising to see them play the way they have so far, when the second half of last year, we did see them play a lot better.
Yeah.
Now, granted, one of the things people said at the end of last year was they were playing a lot of bad teams and a lot of bad quarterbacks, and that certainly helped them out, and that when they still, what would happen when they had to play some good quarterbacks again. And we've seen that this year. Sam Bradford, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, those are all pretty good quarterbacks that all had pretty good days against them. And, they looked better against the 49ers when the 49ers sort of had an injured guy and then a rookie playing against them. So,
right, yeah,
that matters. But yeah, I do think the Seahawks have I don't think they're getting quite as good of a pass rush off the edge as they would like. That's certainly not consistently. So I think that's been an issue in some of these games. Pete Carroll on Friday really sort of pointed the finger a little bit at guys, especially in the zone defense, of just kind of not making the right decisions all the time. And I guess, do you call that a talent issue, or is it a coaching issue to not put them in the right position to make the right decisions all the time? But, two guys who are gotten a lot of criticism are, Jamal Adams and Jordan Brooks. And I think the Seahawks are asking each of those guys to do some things that maybe they haven't always done a lot of. Jamal's playing a lot as this deep safety. Last year he thrived, doing a lot more pass rush stuff, being up in the box. And so far this year, we haven't seen that as much out of him. And then, Jordan Brooks, this is really his first year as a full-time starter. I think people forget how they used KJ Wright last year, and KJ always stayed on the field. They basically used Jordan, in the base defense last year, just mostly in running plays.
Right.
That was what they tried to do anyway. And then he came off the field in the nickel. This year, you're seeing him play in the nickel, and he's having to pass defend, and that's not something. His defense at Texas Tech was a lot different. Didn't really ask him to put him in these same kind of roles. So, I think that's been an issue too. Is just you've got some guys in some situations like that, and then obviously the cornerback spot is I think still an issue. Sidney Jones started these last 2 games, but I think he's still a work in progress and adjusting to the system as well. And I think opponents have know these things and are targeting those guys. So I think that's one of the things. And that's the kind of stuff that, unfortunately can be hard to fix midstream. You can't really just, go get all new players at all these spots. But, they're going to have to try to retool some things, I think, to try to minimize, the ability of opponents to really target maybe some of their weaknesses.
Yeah, no, good point. Bob, we are out of time. Thanks for that, kind of summary and in a 5 or 10 words or less, what are you thinking moving forward? Should fans be optimistic moving forward the rest of the season with this team or not?
Well, I mean, the Russell being hurt obviously changes the whole dynamic, but they've got to win. They've got to win 2 of the next 3. They've got to get to 5. They got to be 500 by the time Russell maybe comes back for that game against Green Bay.
Yeah, so they're saying 3 to 4 weeks is it looking like, or could it be up to 6?
It could be longer. Yeah, it's kind of an unknown with a finger injury like that, and just the operation and how it heals.
Yep. Cool. That's Bob Condotta. You can check him out, the Seattle Times. And Bob, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your schedule to join us. I'm Rick Dupree for Edwin Bailey, for Daniel B. Stay tuned. Keep it right here. Lidline is next. And that's with Granville Emerson, Peppy Bean. And make sure to stay tuned Friday, doubleheader. Once again, Cleveland and Roosevelt at 5 o'clock, then Franklin and Lincoln at 7:45. Until then, this is Rick Dupree, again for Edwin Bailey and Daniel B. Peace, and God bless.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio Traffic Update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 any